friends, it's Brittany Lincoln Papyrus and welcome back to my channel. It is 2025 and let's talk about some of the latest in junk journal trends. That junk journal you just saw, yep, made of etched aluminum foil. Guys, trend number 1, rise of sustainable materials. I am so excited about this. Gone are the days where our craft rooms are full to the brim of expensive, top of the line craft materials. Sure, if you enjoy shopping, if you have a particular project you want to buy stuff for, it is great, but sometimes it is just awesome to make a junk journal out of junk. And that goes for embellishments and decorations as well. We are seeing a shift towards using eco-friendly materials in our covers and our decorations, materials like recycled paper, that brown paper packaging. You're going to see shortly that it seems like all of our packages come with these days. Repurposed textiles, maybe clothes you don't wear anymore, and natural elements, leaves like you see me printing with. Don't forget your magazine stash. Beautiful decorations and pieces of ephemera can be made right from magazines. Focus on seeing these images maybe through a different lens, looking at the patterns and some of the image in little pieces as opposed to looking at it as a whole. And I guarantee you will be able to make something from those pages. When it comes down to it, junk journaling is something that everyone should be able to afford to do. The idea that you have to go to the craft store and buy a bunch of material and spend a ton of money is just nonsense. This pretty accordion journal I made here is actually made from the Bath & Body Works candle packages. I realized that those candle packages that the candle comes in actually has this nice circular cutout, and so I sewed some clear packaging around it and stuffed some dried flowers in there, and then to seal the dried flowers I just sewed over another layer of that clear packaging, and I bound the candle covers together just with some really thick tape and made it into this beautiful accordion journal. Sometimes if you take the packaging or the junk and look at it in a different way, it will inspire you to make something you've never made before. This journal was made by quilting on old fabrics I had. There is an old CD case cover on the front filled with glitter and sequins. This here is a journal I just made very recently using gold metallic cardstock that I really couldn't find any other use for. You kind of have to have a taste for it, if you know what I mean. But I decoupaged some napkins that I had printed myself onto old book pages. I love the way it turned out, and it's just kind of an amalgamation of some different supplies and such that I had left over. I decided to bust through my scrap fabric and cardstock drawer, and this is what I came up with. Oh, and I can't remember where I even got this box from, but it's so pretty. I think I'm going to make a journal cover out of it, and I don't even know that I'm going to cover the cover. I think I might just leave it as is. And this journal I have right here was just made out of a paper bag. You see the natural folds I use as pockets. It's clearly recognizable as a paper bag, which I don't mind. I tried to doll it up with some gesso and some stamping and some sewing, and the pages in the journal are just black and white book pages and some old packaging I had. And don't forget to use beautiful elements from nature. Those flowers on the cover are hot glued on, and they are flowers that I dried that I wanted to save. They were from a special occasion. And guys, don't forget about books that are sitting around at the thrift store and maybe just on your shelf. The illustrations from them can be absolutely stunning. Book pages, especially the ones that have that pretty creamy vanilla kind of color to them if they're aged. Maps, music paper, all look stunning and can be used to decorate a journal beautifully. You have to admit there's something so satisfying about making something beautiful out of something that was destined to end up in a landfill. Trend number two, embracing the digital world. This may be welcome or unwelcome to some of you. I think as crafters, we like the idea of something tangible, but that doesn't mean that increasing use of digital tools can't be used to our advantage in junk journaling. Maybe I didn't say that quite right. What I meant was that we can use the digital tools at our disposal to actually create some beautiful, tangible things. Yeah? Never have we had such a broad array of digital images at our disposal. Like many of you, I purchase digital image kits from Etsy, but I'd also like to show you this subscription based service I use called the Graphics Fairy. I do not receive a commission or any money. I just think that this subscription based service is worth mentioning. They have a huge database of images as well as theme bundles that come out every week. The theme you just saw was Snow Day, for example, and for this specific theme bundle, they have tags and all of these different types of ephemera. The ephemera will vary depending on the bundle, but in general, you tend to see a lot of tags and postcards and images of people, some fussy cutting stuff. You get the point. For those of you who would like access to a huge collection of digital images but do not want to pay, I highly recommend the New York Public Library digital collections. You'll see the link above in the browser, and I will also drop it down in the description box. As you see there, it has a ton of collected images. Many are antique looking, and they have a very, very good search engine system where you can you could basically search for anything you want, and I guarantee you'll get a result. Some of them are illustrations, some of them are photographs. There is a huge collection of maps and atlases, music paper, and things that, in general, we really like to use in our junk journals. If you try and print the images just as is, it's going to come up a little bit weird. So on this website, you can easily download the image, and then what I like to do so I don't waste the whole rest of the sheet of paper is copy and paste the downloaded image to a Word document, and that way you can put a ton of images onto one sheet of paper and save the document and print it out again for later use. The one thing I will show you in a second here is you can change the margins of the page so that you don't waste a whole lot of paper on the top and the bottom. Just select that narrow margins button, and then you'll be good to go. I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely love when I purchase packs of old antique ephemera. Sometimes I do it through eBay, and I jump for joy when I get those cigarette cards in the mail. Well, you can print out cigarette cards yourself. Maybe you want to print it onto some thicker cardstock and distress the cardstock with a little bit of tea or coffee. Print out those cigarette cards, and you too can make yourself an antique set, which I think look adorable in journals. Another way many creators have embraced the digital world is by joining communities of junk journalers and sharing their work. The online junk journal community is thriving. People are sharing their creative processes and inspiring one another with innovative techniques. Digital tools are playing a role bigger than ever before. Pam at the Paper Outpost is one of my absolute favorites, and she's probably one of your favorites too. She has a rockin' Facebook group where people are welcome to share projects they're working on, and it is a great source of inspiration. Another source of inspiration, I like to search on Instagram junk journaling. Oftentimes, people will post absolutely gorgeous layout spreads. Try not to feel inferior. Sometimes that's how I feel on Instagram and Pinterest. People just post the most beautiful layouts, but you'll also see really inspirational things like, for example, you may have just seen the December Junk Journal Challenge. People will post prompts, and when I feel stuck or I'm just not feeling all that inspired, sometimes I'll specifically seek out certain themed journal layouts or junk journal prompts, and oftentimes that will get the creative juices flowing. Reddit is another great source of inspiration, and they also have a thread called Junk Journals, as you see here. They have a whole bunch of sub threads that talk about journal principles and prompts and art journal spreads and journal, themed covers, and really anything that you may be looking for. I do like it because they limit the amount of like links that you can share. You can't like self promote, so people aren't trying to shove, digital image kits at you. It's a very, there isn't a whole lot of selling or spam. It's just a lot of creative inspiration. I found a great list of Facebook groups and other social media groups for paper crafters. And this site, this list rather, was on Digital Junk Journals. I will also include the link to that page in the description box. Check some of them out. I have to share one more digital tool that could potentially transform your journals. It's called Be Funky. It's a completely free site, and they basically transform your photos with, just like it says, it transforms your photos into art with just one click. It's completely free. You don't have to sign up for an account, and you can take any digital image you want, select, you can see the whole array of different themes of transformations that the program can do. And I just give it a look. I'm telling you, any digital images or pictures you have that maybe you're just not thrilled with a picture, maybe you think it's not the highest quality, maybe you have some pictures that you think are kind of boring, liven it up. I guarantee you this will liven up your pictures, and you may decide all of a sudden that it actually is worthy of putting in your junk journals. Trend number 3 for 2025, I think, is exploring different themes of journals. This could include topics like self discovery, mental wellness, creating junk journals around these themes. This junk journal that you see here, I created, it was very, very simple. I created it out of a plain box and just did a little gessoing and stamping. And I did it because I wanted it to be a very kind of lax, laid back, kind of plain junk journal that was just meant to be written in and kind of destroyed with ephemera and just like a loose way of expressing myself, and storing memories, kind of feelings and thoughts I had about the last couple of years. I had really fallen behind in putting ephemera that I've collected and kind of sharing my experiences in my like personal life and work life over the last few years. And so that's what this journal was. I think we're also going to see journals geared towards not just ideas, but almost like learning experiences. For example, I have a journal that I've devoted to diving, and you'll see that journal cover there. And I'm just going to, it's going to be a a collection of all of my dives, the location, things that I want to remember, details about the dives, things I've learned about diving since I started, and an actual log to detail not just the location, but the time that I was underwater, kind of lay out my dive profiles, and some data points that I won't bore you with, but that people generally collect when they scuba dive. I think this speaks back to the shift that we're seeing in our journals, where we've shifted from having to purchase everything, and not to say that people haven't been creating junk journals all along, but we've shifted from this mantra where everything kind of has to be perfect, and you wanted store-bought scrapbooking material to document your memories, and everything, everything your layout needed to be perfect and matched up. And now we're just creating journals with things that we're finding around us, and as a result, our journaling has become much more personalized. I think at least a lot of the journaling I've done recently is a much greater reflection upon myself, my experiences. And as you see here, this layout is just from when I visited a friend recently, and it's full of mementos, airplane tickets, receipts, pictures. I loosely watercolored some flowers in the background. And even though I do love making theme journals, especially that are decorated full of bought supplies, sometimes journaling this way is so much more satisfying. I'm not as worried or as paranoid. I'm not worried about things being perfect. And sometimes I find these not just more satisfying, but the process is a lot more. I get to express myself, and just it's a much more creative process to me. Bottom line is, you should be making the journals that you want to make. Find the style that suits you. Find where you are at your most creative and where you are most satisfied with your work. Don't be making journals that you feel compelled to make because that's what you are supposed to be doing. And if you feel stuck, or you feel that the journal isn't going the direction you want to go, be like me and have 30 journals going at all times. In all seriousness, I think that really is the key to happiness, is giving yourself away where you have multiple journals that you can work on at any given time, depending on how you're feeling and the style that you are feeling at that particular time. Trend number 4 is personalization of our journals. We've kind of been talking a lot about this throughout this video, but we've kind of beat around the bush. Personalization of journals, honestly, is why I started journaling in the first place, to keep track of memories and thoughts and feelings, and a place to store ephemera that I have collected that is sentimental to me. Well, through the process of junk journaling, especially when many of us would buy supplies and get really excited about it, we started buying all of these ephemera packs. And we sort of, which is totally fine, but it became a collection of things of everyone else's, and purchased things instead of pieces of ephemera that we collected, and journaling about ourselves and our experiences and ideas we had. And so I want to see a shift back towards journaling about events that were meaningful to us, things that experiences that have shaped us and changed the way that we look at the world. And I see this becoming much, much more common. People are putting the ephemera packs aside and are creating journals that really represent who they are, and journals that really tell a story. And I am a huge fan of that. As you see here, I still use plenty of bought ephemera. It's just I have found, I think, my style of incorporating it into more personalized journals that still tell the story of the adventures I've taken recently, or experiences that I've had that I've really treasured, new places that I've been. Just like this journal, this is a journal I made after my trip to Little Cayman Island. Trend number 5, fewer papercraft retail options. Suffice it to say, numbers 1 through 4, those trends were pretty positive. Number 5, not so much. Brick and mortar stores are shrinking their papercraft collections. I thought it was just my imagination, but I've heard several people in the papercraft community saying this as well. Have you noticed this? First of all, e-commerce platforms have made it very difficult for brick and mortar stores to keep up. Overhead has just become too much. Take, for instance, one of America's well-known stores, Joanne Craft or crafts and fabrics filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy of March of this year. They do plan to keep their stores open, but they cited higher operating costs and a decline in consumer spending as reasons for filing. They noted that e-commerce and competitors like Hobby Lobby have just made the environment more difficult to compete. They plan to emerge from bankruptcy with a stronger financial foundation. At least that's what they say. They think by closing their stores, they'll be able to essentially reestablish themselves as more of an e-commerce platform. I also think there's more to it than just overhead and cost of goods. I think a lot of crafters have just bought a ton of supplies and they don't have room for more things. Much of the supplies we buy last a really long time. I think a lot more people are looking to destash, and if they are looking to purchase an item, they want to buy it at a deal. They're turning to secondhand stores, thrift stores, garage sales. They're using old recycled materials to create their journals. So, this brings me to my sixth and final trend, shopping from your stash. We've come full circle. I'll bet many of you aren't surprised by this. Shopping from my stash first was one of my biggest goals in 2024. I'm not sure I accomplished it 100%, but I sure have made an effort to declutter my working space and stop making so many shopping trips. I know many of you are, you have the same goal and you are also looking to do a destash and a declutter. And let's face it, it's not always easy. When I find myself in a craft rut, I think I turn to craft shopping to inspire me. It's not a good thing, but at least I know my tendencies. It's kind of oxymoronic because I often find that the more things I have in front of me, the harder it can be to get started on a project. Do any of you face that as well? In order to keep myself accountable, I am pledging to do at least 12 D-Stash and Craft episodes this year. That works out to about one a month. I want to make sure they are creative and entertaining. I did a couple this year. The latest D-Stash and Craft episode I did used index cards. I love the way these were embellished, but I wanted to challenge myself even more by committing to doing some of these videos using the D-Stash and Craft materials in a way that they weren't obviously intended to be used. Does that make sense? I hope so, and I hope you'll tune in and commit to doing a D-Stash of your own if you too are feeling overwhelmed by an abundance of supplies. So guys, I hope this got you excited to pull out your supplies and start crafting. Maybe as a result of this video, you will see some of your supplies or some of your empty journal pages in a new light. Don't be afraid to let your projects and your journals evolve right along with you. As timeless as crafting and paper is, we shouldn't be afraid to modernize our approach to journaling. Even more importantly, personalize our approach to journaling and our crafts. As technology evolves, so will the way we create and the tools at our disposal. Our desire for something concrete, however, that can be touched and be decorated by hand won't ever change. Cheers to 2025.